I figured we could go back and forth and share some ideas of, if you were in Marty's shoes or really anyone thinking about how to manage AI costs, like what would be the best piece of advice you have?
First thing would be to not just use Anthropic, right? Because it sounds like by him leaning in all the way, they got smacked and they triggered something to bring him to the next plan. Also, it sounded like he was budgeting based on seats, Kyle, if I got it right, but a lot of the cost is coming from usage. So it's a bit of a bait and switch.
On the smaller tiers, like they bundle the usage in with the seats. I think just for the larger tiers, it's like you're paying standard API rates. You're not getting that subsidization like to the same extent. There's probably some extra usage bill in either case. Yes, you can have company context that is shared across teams, and like there's probably a benefit to having all your teams on one provider, but like it feels like it's doable to split and say, hey, actually, marketing, finance, support, we're going to go to OpenAI. Engineering, we can stay on Anthropic, or like, split the purchase into two. That way they keep the subsidized seats as much as they can. I think they can also play the two vendors against each other. Like if you have a credible Anthropic bill, I think OpenAI is going to be a lot more willing to play ball from a negotiation standpoint. It's probably good to have both of them at the same time. Claude Code has been ahead of OpenAI on coding for a while, but there's been a lot more buzz about codecs and higher limits and just better performance than people expected. So does feel like the pendulum is shifting back a little bit towards OpenAI.
You know how every time you open something like a link, it tries to decide if it's going to use like Google Chrome or something else. Inevitably, Explorer pops up and it's like, do you want to make this your default browser?
The Microsoft Edge, I hate that so much.
I've been using ChatGPT lately and I just am bombarded with the try codecs pop-ups. It's kind of funny because like I've never once asked it for anything to code. It also has the context on me as a finance person. So I just find it interesting, Kyle, that it keeps asking me to try codecs, but everything I've ever worked on with it would say that I'm not a technical person.
You're like, this doesn't seem like the smartest AI out there. OpenAI increasingly offers me like trials, like, oh, you can get a 30-day free trial of Pro or of Codex or of like, different products. I had never gotten a free trial for like years of using these products until recently. I don't know if it's because they know that I pay for Anthropic now and like maybe I stopped using ChatGPT as much as I used to and they're trying to like win me back, or it's just a sort of a desperate ploy to grow their user base ahead of an IPO. But it feels like this sort of price war environment is heating up.
Who's to say you can't split which teams use which providers? And it's probably good to keep a couple irons in the fire depending on who ramps their roadmap faster so you can lean in.
So that's number one. Number two, I was actually going to say like negotiate against Anthropic and probably try to negotiate with both providers at the same time. Like how much room do you think there is to negotiate with Anthropic? If you're negotiating with them, kind of like you did with the car dealership, what would be your chips? What would you do?
If it's mostly media calling up and like, hey, so we have 4 seats and we're not, hello?
I don't think you'd get your phone call answered. No, but thinking like you're spending over $1 million here.
I think that you could lock in a pretty awesome deal right now, especially if they have enterprise reps who are looking to lock in commitments. Because you also have to remember they're trying to plan on the compute side for how much they'll need. I know they are extremely constrained by that right now, and they'll take whatever they can get. But I mean, from a CFO's perspective, if you can say, we have this commitment, we think people are going to use it to this amount, they've already signed on the line, then I think that's better for both sides. And I'd want to lock in the subsidies. You remember how we were just saying that once you go past a certain point, like it gets more expensive? I know the cost of compute is going down with Moore's law, but I don't know if the cost per token is necessarily going to go down for the frontier models as fast as some of these companies will want them to.
Yeah, so you would basically try to use the commitment level as that main negotiating lever.
That's what I would do. And like we said before, if you're using both providers and you can send them a screenshot to say this is legit, we're using both, play them against each other. It's a multi-horse race.
So one thing that did stand out to me is there's been more and more headlines like this. This was in the Wall Street Journal. OpenAI considers drastic price cuts, anticipating war for users with Anthropic. The company might lower prices for tokens, the central unit for gauging AI costs. The discussions are still in flux. What's interesting about this is, I mean, it speaks to something that we kind of know, like there is a lot of competition. This is a knife fight right now between these two. especially as they want to show user growth going into IPOs. I actually don't want headlines like this to leak if I'm either vendor, because just the sense that OpenAI is considering price cuts, this immediately gives you negotiating leverage, because like, why commit now if you think that there's about to be big price cuts in the future? And so I probably use this as a way to say, hey, actually, I'm really hesitant to lock in now because I think I could get a better deal with OpenAI if I wait a month. And if you say that to Anthropic, they might be a little bit willing to play ball.
I think it's the best time to be negotiating in general as a CFO for software or tokens. Because if you go to your software provider, you say, hey, I'm not going to take a price increase this year because I'm thinking about just building this out with an LLM. Even if you're not, just like make them call bullshit on it. For the LLMs, you can be like, hey, I heard there's a price cut coming. I'm not willing to get too far over my skis and commit just yet. I think just acting like you have all these options, which technically you do, can really drive down the cost of both the software you have upon renewal and for the tokens that would replace it.
Those two feel like no-brainer moves. What would be your third action that you take?
I would probably look into where credits are being used or unused at the team level. So similar to how that gentleman broke out in the LinkedIn post, the usage by department, I would definitely start to have rules of thumb of what I would expect on a per employee and per department basis.
What I'd be curious about is the department level, the user level, and then ideally like the task or the use case level. I think a lot of people use AI internally without even realizing how much compute they're consuming. And so you could end up with the problem of an intern that's like consumed a crazy amount and they just like didn't realize it. Getting that visibility and then sharing that internally and doing it not for the purposes of saying we're token maxing and whoever's at the highest on the leaderboard is great, but more about like, hey, look, there are real costs here. Here's how much you're consuming. Like just making that visible, I think is useful. And then understanding engineering using a lot of this, that's great. But like, are the most productive engineers the ones that are using the most tokens? If so, like, that's fine. Like, that's what you'd expect. If like least productive engineers are using a lot of tokens, that's probably a problem. And same across other teams. And that's where I think you can't just stop at the department level. You've got to go down to the user.
Ali and the team at Tabs are building something that directly addresses one of the biggest headaches I see finance teams deal with today. Pulling data from your ERP, your CRM, your FP&A tools, and your usage systems and actually making it all work together. If you're running usage-based pricing or complex contracts, you already know how this usually plays out. Contracts live in one system, usage data lives somewhere else, billing happens in another tool. RevRec gets layered on top at month end, and finance ends up just reconciling everything by hand to close the books. This is exactly the problem Tabs was built to solve. Tabs is an AI-native revenue platform built for controllers and CFOs. It brings together data from your ERP, CRM, and real product usage into a single system of record. From there, it automates billing, collections, and revenue recognition without finance having to duct tape workflows together every month. If usage-based revenue is core to your business, this is the future of how billing and RevRec get done. Go check them out at tabs.com/run. That's tabs.com/run.